Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Rakhi Gupta. Welcome to my module on managing human resource or just human resource management. Just to tell you about the previous lecture, we started off with something related with the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947, and today also I'm going to continue with the other aspects of Industrial Dispute Act of 1947. So by this time you know that what is the meaning of dispute, or who are the people, or what are the essentials of the Industrial Dispute Act. Now today what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the very important aspect that relates with the causes of Industrial Disputes Act. So we know that what are the causes of Industrial Dispute Act, but prior to that, if you remember in my previous lecture, I started off with we discussed the various types of disputes also. So what we can do is, like, in a crux way we can say ideally there are generally two types of disputes, that is the disputes of interest and disputes of rights. And of course, we have discussed the other kinds in my previous lecture. We also know that the industrial disputes, just to reiterate, is any kind of an indifference or a disagreement that exists between the management and the workers or people. Naturally, the dispute is always over related with the employment part or terms of the job, or maybe the way the work is done. So ideally, it is something which is related with the work only. So what we can see is, like, there can be different causes of Industrial Dispute Act, my dear friends. It can be any kind of causes. It can be the social causes, political causes, managerial causes, psychological causes, technical causes, legal causes and other causes. So let's go and deep into the various kind of causes that are responsible for the industrial dispute. One thing to bear in mind is that any kind of dispute which is there in existing in the industry, it has to be resolved as soon as possible. And who are the people who will help you to resolve conflicts or the dispute? There are different kind of authorities who are responsible for that. For example, they can be anything related with works committee, joint management councils, or maybe arbitration, adjudication. So there can be different ways by which the disputes can be actually settled. But let's go deep down and delve as to what are the various causes of these industrial disputes. So the first one that you see on the screen, my dear friend, is all related with the economic causes. We all know that anything economic is basically anything which is concerned with the money. So industrial dispute basically occurs owing to the factors which are actually essential, or they are more economic in nature, and they can be the following ones. For example, low wages. We all know that we have discussed about the other types of wages also: living wage, minimum wage, fair wage. So if these factory people or industrial unit people, they fail to pay that, so that is one of the causes of the dispute, because we know that everyone is working for money, so are the workers or the employees. So ideally, when workers are working, they are poor, they are illiterate, they are unskilled, or maybe semi-skilled, involved in different kind of technical, operational, or maybe other kind of work. So naturally, if they are being paid low wages, this is something which is unacceptable. Everyone wants that the kind of effort that they put in, they get wages accordingly. Then the second one is the DA, dearness allowances. So this is also because of the increasing cost of living is another factor which is responsible for the industrial disputes. So ideally, the government, they declare the hike in the DA, but at times they are the people, management people, in order to cut corners, they do not implement that high rate of DA. So that is a big problem. So in the case of this DA also, what happens is that because of the rising prices, people are not able to maintain that standard of living for themselves. So when they are not able to maintain that standard of living, so naturally it's a matter of concern. And I feel personally that the management should be very proactive, understanding what is the cost of living index is, and then they should always give the dearness allowances accordingly. Then industrial profits, we all know that profits of the employers, they multiply because of the untiring efforts that have been put in by the laborers or the workers. So actually what happens is, like, if the organization is growing or if the organization is earning profit, so it is always desirable that profit gets distributed amongst the different stakeholders, and especially the workers who are working, or those who have actually put in their untiring efforts in increasing those profits of the company. So when the company or the industrial unit, they stop giving that kind of profit, or they start cutting corners, so that is one of the causes of the industrial dispute. They feel that management, people feel that, okay, certain amount should be distributed to the workers in the form of bonus, but actually they demand a higher rate. So that is a cause of concern. So ideally what happens is, if you all remember when we did the workers participation also, so workers, they are made to feel as the owners of the company. So when you are the owners of the company, so naturally you will be demanding higher profit sharing, and when that profit sharing demand gets rejected by the people, naturally industrial dispute crops up. Another economic reason is the bonus. So of course, bonus is to be distributed, but when it gets deferred, deferred basically means postponed. So if it gets postponed, so then it will definitely bring about unrest among the workers. And lastly, it was the working conditions. So these working conditions, they can be related with the anything, drinking water or the place of work or the cleanliness part, or maybe the staircases, light, fumes, or maybe air conditioning, whatever. So the place where they are working, so that place has to be good enough for the workers, or it should be quite conducive. So basically conflicts can arise from the concerns of the working conditions. At times it can be related with the long working hours, inadequate health and safety provisions are being provided to people, or anything where people feel that okay, they are not being getting the fair wages, or they feel that if people are not given, then naturally it will be a matter of concern for the management also. And so these working condition or the places around which they are working, they have to be conducive enough for the workers to work. So naturally, when we talk about the working condition, it is entirely the environment and the circumstances in which the worker has to work, and it will have a direct impact on the workers or employee satisfaction level. So this is what is actually in the case of the working condition. Then at times there can be managerial causes also. So when we have the managerial causes, so we know that in the case of managerial causes, there can be the non-recognition of the unions. We have talked enough about the trade unions. Just reiterating myself that when management, they fail to recognize the unions, or where the attitude is of the antagonist. Antagonist is like more of the enemy kind of behavior coming up from the management side. So that is a matter of concern. So at times, as I told you, the employers, they refuse to recognize the trade unions which were representing the workmen interest, and those interests, they are getting defeated, or they are not getting developed. Or in other words, we know that the recognition of trade union is at stake. At times, my dear friends, just to put it across, it's not necessary that there is only one trade union in the industry. There can be number of trade unions. So there can be rivalry between different trade unions, which is also one of the main causes of the industrial disputes. So it says that non-recognition of the union is one of the causes of industrial dispute, and the effort should be taken by the management to recognize the union, so that the collaborative or collective agreement can be achieved at. Then violation of the agreements. My dear friends, when we talk about the agreements, we are ideally talking about the collective agreements. So collective agreements, they are nothing but it's just the terms and conditions that have been confirmed by the management and the workers. So whenever there's a kind of a dispute, both the parties, whether the management and the worker, they sit across the table, they discuss, they do a lot of brainstorming, and it can go on for hours, for days and for weeks. And then finally they can come to a common conclusion or a common piece of agreement. So naturally that agreement is only known as a collective agreement, and I will be covering a separate topic also on the collective agreement in future lectures. So at any point of time, if these agreements, they are getting violated on the various issues, and these issues are again nothing but anything which is related with the employment part. So any kind of violation is also a cause of drift between these two parties. Then ill treatment by managers and supervisors. So naturally this is a kind of a personality problem. If the leaders or the managers or people who are working and they ill treat, look at the word ill treat. So any kind of ill treatment given to the workers is not at all acceptable, and this treatment by the management towards the workers brings about a resentment and is a cause of drift between the two. Then defective recruitment procedure and employee development policies. So we know that if people have been recruited through wrong ways, or maybe they are recruited by middlemen who get a bribe from them, and maybe they are not good enough to be a part of the company, company and they are not proving their mettle, anything. So definitely that is a problem, and at times these middlemen also, they take the undue advantage from the workers, they will take money also. So anything of such kind will also bring about a resentment amongst the workers. And defective development policies are like favoritism. Remember when we were talking about promotion, demotion and transfer, then we talk about the favoritism and nepotism or the biasness that exist in the promotion or the transfer cases. So such things, if they are practiced by the management, then definitely it is something which is actually opposed by the trade unions, and people are not happy with such practices of the management, and definitely it will result in industrial dispute. Then we have another causes, for example, related with the wrong retrenchment, demotion and termination. So my dear friends, what is the meaning of retrenchment? You might have heard and you might not have heard. Let me give you an introduction of that. So retrenchment is basically, we know that when people, they are being chalked out of the company, out of their jobs because of any reason, that churning of the people out of the company is what is known as retrenchment. And naturally, retrenchment will bring an end to the relationship that exists between the management and the workers. So sometimes on the account of fall in production, laborers are retrenched because they feel that there are more employees or more workers as needed. Then they are retrenched, and retrenchment is basically an end to the relationship that exists. So it's actually any kind of wrongful retrenchment or demotion or termination which has been done by the management related with any activity. So that is a cause of industrial dispute. Then selfish leadership, we know that leader plays a very, very crucial role in taking the organization to the next level, or in increasing the profitability or performance or productivity of the company. So we have already done a lecture on leadership. So we ideally know that which is the best part of leadership, my dear friends. The answer is very simple. That is the democratic style of leadership. So at any point of time, if there is selfish leadership or autocratic style of leadership, this will definitely make people dissatisfied, and it will definitely bring down the individual motivation level, and the entire morale of the entire group will also go down. So any kind of faulty supervision, faulty kind of leadership is one of the good causes of industrial dispute. Violation of the accepted code of conduct, which is actually code of conduct is a way by which, or the manners by which it's an accepted norms. In other words, what we can say is an accepted norm by both the parties. At any point of time, if it is getting violated by any of the parties, that would be a cause of concern. Then collective bargaining and workers' participation. My dear friends, I hope by this time you know what is the meaning of workers' participation. We are giving certain importance to the people, or we are involving workers in the decision making of the company, and workers, they can be made to participate in different forms, like it can be informative, or it can be associative, or having a representative on the board of directors. So at any point of time, if management fails to do that, and there is collective bargaining, or supposing if there is a kind of a refusal on the part of the management, when they do not agree to the collective bargaining or negotiations, they fail. So naturally, it will bring out some kind of uneasiness, and that can be one of the causes of industrial dispute. Then we know that another kind or another cause which is very, very important is the political causes. And there is a lot of political influence that is exerted by these political parties who are trying to grind their own axis on the trade unions. And these political parties basically, they use industrial issues as the election propaganda. So they instigate the management against these policies, and then they feel that okay, the best way to do it is to with the help of these trade unions. And of course, all those people who are there, all the workers, they are associated with the trade unions. So they actually try to get the best out of it. So any kind of influence which is exerted by the political parties is one of the causes of industrial dispute. And these political parties actually grind their own axis. So as soon as their purpose is done, so there is no way by which these workers, they will be getting benefited. So these political parties, they have a lot of influence on the trade unions, and with the help of these trade unions, since a lot of people are attached, so naturally it will be a big cause of concern. And as I told you that these political parties, they instigate the management against workers or trade unions, and they will instigate trade unions against the management. to fulfill their selfish political motives. So actually what happens with this is actually it brings disharmony and several industrial disputes. So there is a lot of influence of them. Trade union movement, they are trying to instigate each other against the people, and they striked against the government. So of course there are a lot of power struggles. So these political parties, they are striving for these power struggles, and at times, as I told you, they do it as the part of the election propaganda. So the ruling party or the opposition party, ideally opposition party, will do that against the ruling party. So there's a lot of instigation that is actually being done, and they are asking people to go on strike, and they instigate each other. So naturally that brings a lot of discomfort. And as I told you that naturally the ruling government will often support the management of the industry for their own political agendas, and due to this, negotiations between the workers and the management fails, which give rise to industrial relation. So politically, a lot of innocent people, their lives are at stake, which is not at all liked by a lot of people. And we also know, as these political parties, they instigate, so they will instigate people to go on for different kind of strikes. There can be hunger strikes, economic strikes, stay-in strikes, sympathetic strikes, or at times there can be some kind of lockout. So when we talk about the lockouts, it's actually a weapon in the hands of the management to stop giving employment to the workers, or they may shut down the industrial unit for a while. So once it gets shut down, naturally it is a big cause of concern for people. Then we know that in the causes of industrial dispute, there can be some kind of social factors that also, or they are the ones which are actually responsible for the industrial dispute. For example, privatization. So if people or the companies are going for privatization, that they may not be getting better wages, or they may be exploited, or they may be denied some bonus, or maybe anything which is related with their working hours, anything which is related with their conditions, safety, they may all be taken away. And of course, so we know for any of the workers or employees, working conditions, they are of paramount importance. So privatization, there's always a fear of getting unemployed. So one of the factor is that there's a fear of unemployment at the time of privatization, and privatization has its own merits and demerits. Then poor quality. So at times they know that when people are not getting that kind of support from the management, so the kind of work that they do, or when people are dissatisfied, or maybe when they are not able to maintain that work-life balance, the kind of output that they are giving, it's a poor quality. So again, any poor quality is one of the causes of the disputes. Then unemployment, I've already told it. Then economic recession. Now this is very important, anything which is beyond the control of an individual. So recession will definitely bring down the demand, and when the demand comes down, so naturally the production also comes down, and when production comes down, so the need of people will also come down, and as a result what will happen, the management will start retrenching the workers from the industrial units. So again, getting unemployed is a social factor, and that is a cause of dispute between them, or a dispute arises between them. And illiteracy is one of the factors. So if they feel that, okay, if they are absorbed in any of the industrial unit in any capacity, so their job is secured, and there is some kind of security that they feel. But at times this illiteracy is also one of the causes of dispute. Reason being, there are better people in the queue to get employed. So if better people, they are recruited, so naturally it brings a resentment amongst the people also. And all these illiteracy or dissatisfaction amongst the workers, there can be n number of causes that can be part of it, especially related with the working hours, or at times it can be related with the working situation, anything related with the safety, anything related with the equipment, anything related with anything like, for example, canteens, or maybe drinking water, proper lighting, anything, all that can be part of it. Then we know the technological factors. We know everyone is trying to get the bliss of the technology. So when everyone is trying to get the bliss of the technology, so there's always a fear factor of losing the job. Insecurity is the word here. So people are quite insecure, and they feel that because of the modernization, because of the mechanization, they may lose the job. And of course, as these workers, as I told you earlier, they are not that very well educated, they are illiterate, innocent, they are semi-skilled, unskilled. So naturally, there's always a fear of losing the job. And at times, because of the technological factors also, at times there can be ill treatment that can be served, or people may be ill treated or dominated very badly. So since these workers, they are representative by the trade unions, they will always oppose any kind of technological upliftment or advancement that is taking place, or if at any point of time people are ill treated by the employers, or if there's a lot of computerization. So naturally, one crux one has to understand that because of the advancement or computerization or mechanization or automation or AI, whatever, so there would be less need of human people to work, human capital we call it, or human people. So when there is a less need, so naturally people have to leave the organization. So when they have to leave the organization, nobody would like it. So there's always a fear of insecurity and unemployment. So that is very important. So at times here also, management, they may play a very, very victim card at times. So at times, the employers, they start following the policy of hire and fire, which means there is no security of a job for the workers. So at times here also, they are employed for some purpose, and after the fulfillment of that purpose, they are fired without any reason. So this, one of the reasons can be because of the technological advancement. Then we have something known as the psychological causes. Now, psychological causes, like anything coming because of their own mindset, attrition rate. If a lot of people are being turned out of their jobs, the people are losing their jobs, there's a lot of insecurity, or there is increasing job satisfaction. They feel that they are satisfied, but they are not satisfied. So this satisfaction actually can also be one of the causes of the industrial dispute. And we know that these, as I told you earlier also, these political parties, they influence it and they try to encash it for their own agenda. So here, what is more important is that because of their own thought, they feel that they are being ill-treated, or they are victimized, so on and so forth. So that can be one of the causes. And at times, these causes are also very real. Anything which is related with the leaves, pension, benefits, or maybe modernization, as I told you. So we know at the time of modernization also, there would be the replacement of the manual labor in the industry, and anything which is related with their working situation, condition. So if they are at any point of time, they are dissatisfied, they would be the causes of resentment between the two. Then the legal causes, because of the number of laws in the country, changing laws, lack of legal help from the management side, can also be one of the causes of industrial dispute. Then other causes, it can be related with the excessive workload. So if people are overburdened, so they will be stressed out, then their mental health is also getting a hit, so on and so forth. So that can be one of the causes. Or if there are very, very strict rules to follow, people will be happy. Safety measures, for example, personal equipment treatment is not being given, or the equipment that they were supposed to be given by the management is not providing with those safety things. Naturally, it's a cause of concern. Then lack of proper communication, because we know that lack of communication will always leads to misunderstandings, and whenever there are misunderstandings, naturally things will go from bad to worse. Non-implementation of agreements, this is all related with collective bargaining. If you remember, collective agreements, unwillingness to negotiate on the part of the management. When management, they are faulty, or selfish leadership, as we discussed earlier. So that is a concern. And then there's a lot of resentment, and that can be one of the causes of for the industrial dispute. And when people, they become dissatisfied, they will be doing a lot of indiscipline or conducting misconduct. So naturally, that would be a problem. So any kind of violation of the rights or the interests of the workers, then only the workers, they will start opposing the decisions which are actually taken by the employers, which will ultimately result in the industrial dispute. So there can be some personal factors, wrong attitude of the unions, and the layoffs, or the ill treatment, as I told you, or at times there can be some corrupt recruitment procedures, as we just discussed. And at times the trade unions also play very smart. So because at times they will be favoring the management, at times they will be favoring the workers. So this all will lead to the industrial disputes. So at times what happens is like there is a kind of a vicious circle of unhealthy relationships. And why we are talking about the unhealthy relationship? Because of the different causes of dispute. So dispute will always result in unhealthy relationship, naturally misutilization of the capital investment, non-fulfillment of the target growth, and the loss of productivity for the company also. Then my dear friends, at times there can be some kind of negative impact of disputes also. For example, is one of the negative impact of industrial disputes is like the disruptions in the production and services. So we all know, my dear friends, that one of the causes, like we have just discussed the different causes of the dispute, and one of the negative impact is that there can be certain disruptions in the production, or there can be stoppage of production. When people are dissatisfied, they will be adopting themselves to different kind of strikes. So naturally, when stoppage of work is there, it will definitely increase the cost of production, which will not be acceptable by the management at any cost. Then on the employers, as I told you, they have to suffer heavy losses, the stoppage of work, reduction in sale, loss of market. So because of all this, the profitability will also go down, and of course the productivity also. So management is not going to like it at all. So at any point of time, if there are strikes or something like that, so all those things, they can be affected. Then on workers, the workers are also badly affected in one or more than ways. They lose their wages for the strike period. So one of the biggest weapons which is there in the hands of the workers is of course the strikes. So at any point of time, I stand corrected, they will not be paid money if it happens to be an illegal strike. So again, that's a matter of concern. Then of course, as it is mentioned, inflicting financial losses. And when there are financial losses, naturally it will shake the entire confidence of these trade unions, and all the workers, all the employees, they are all associated with the trade unions. Then on society and public, of course, the society and public is also not spared. Industrial unrest creates law and order problem in the country, and then it's a big problem for the government shelling out lot of money. Then on the national economy, the industrial disputes also affect the national economy adversely when labor and equipment in the whole or part of the industry, they are rendered idle or striked or locked out. So naturally, how this is created. Now we know when there is unrest, or when people are dissatisfied, they will resort to disputes, and whenever there are disputes, the production can stop. When the production stops, the cost of production goes up, or huge losses have to be suffered by the management. So when the huge losses have to be suffered by the management, so naturally there would be a loss of taxes also that actually the government gets. So some way or the other, indirectly, the individuals, they are also getting hit, the groups are also getting hit, the industrial unit is also getting a hit, the society is also getting a hit, and definitely on the national level also the entire economy is getting a hit, because it has its own repercussions. For example, when a company earns a profit, or there is more money at the disposal of the people, then naturally people, they save, they invest, then the capital formation takes place, and that's how the economy goes up. So in case if we go on the reverse side and see, if people, they do not have money, they do not have jobs, they are not able to spend, the demands are less, there is a blockage of capital, then naturally the management or the industrial units, they start suffering big losses. And whenever there are losses, there will not be profits, and when there are no profits, naturally the taxes will not be paid by the companies to the government. So my dear friends, so this was all I had for you in this session. So by this time, I hope you know that what are the various causes of industrial dispute. These causes can be related with anything from the management side, psychological, social, economical, anything which is related with their compensation, incentive, bonus, wages, anything, or anything which is related with their personal aspects, or maybe technological issues, or maybe other issues which we just discussed. So ideally, one submission that I have for all the people who are watching this video, if you happen to be the management people, please ensure that your workers and employees, they are happy and satisfied, because they are the biggest asset that we have in the organization. So thank you so much for watching this video. Just stay tuned for more on this. Thank you.